Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. Tonight, we're traveling back to an ancient world, one shaped by towering walls of ice, hidden lands beneath the ocean, and vast herds on windswept plains. The Ice Age was an era of immense change, when glaciers pressed down on continents, when sea levels rose and fell, and when our own ancestors learned to survive in a shifting and demanding world. Beneath the surface of today's forests, lakes, and cities lies the imprint of that ancient cold. Valleys were carved, coastlines redrawn, and entire ecosystems transformed. Even now, the ground in some places is still rising from the weight of long-vanished ice. The story of the Ice Age is not distant or disconnected. It is written into the land beneath your feet and the air you breathe. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is relax. Let your body soften and allow your breathing to slow. And as your mind begins to gently unwind, join me as we explore this frozen world together. Let's begin. During the last Ice Age, ice covered huge parts of North America. At its greatest reach, the ice was not a thin blanket. It was an immense, bright shield that reshaped the continent from above. Imagine standing on ground that is now Chicago or Boston and looking up at a horizon of frozen white, stretching farther than the eye could follow. The pressure of that ice changed drainage patterns and forced rivers to reroute. It also rearranged habitats, pushing plants and animals south into refuges where pockets of life held on. When the ice finally loosened its grip, it left behind scoured bedrock, piles of rubble, and a landscape newly engineered for lakes, wetlands, and forests. Much of what feels permanent on modern maps is a recent aftertaste of that vast frozen cover. Sea levels fell so far that land bridges connected entire continents. When so much water was locked up on land as ice, the oceans could not stay as high. Shorelines slid outward, and wide new plains appeared where waves now roar. These were not narrow footpaths. In some places, they were broad, windswept regions with rivers, lakes, and grazing grounds. For animals, that meant new routes, a new mixing of populations. For people, it meant the chance to move into unfamiliar lands without needing boats. The world map quietly changed shape, and coastlines became long corridors of travel and hunting. Later, as meltwater returned to the sea, those corridors flooded and vanished. What had been open country became sea floor, preserving a hidden chapter of movement and connection beneath modern oceans. Mammoths walked across grasslands where the Arctic Ocean is today. This idea sounds like a trick of the imagination, yet it is rooted in climate and geography. Parts of the far north once held a cold, dry steppe with hardy grasses and flowering plants. That kind of landscape can feed large grazers far better than deep snow and dense forest can. Mammoths were built for it. Their shaggy hair reduced heat loss. Their fat stores carried them through lean seasons, and their broad feet helped them travel over soft ground. Their curved tusks were not only for display. They could sweep aside snow to reach food and could strip bark when grass was scarce. In that lost grassland, mammoths shared space with bison, horses, and other grazers, turning the tundra edge into a busy, living plain. The Ice Age was not one winter, it lasted for many millennia. It is easy to picture a single frozen scene, yet the reality was a long story with changing chapters. Ice advanced, paused, and retreated. Forests expanded, then gave way to open steppe. Lakes formed, drained, and formed again. Animals shifted their ranges as climates tilted colder or eased warmer. Human lives unfolded inside those changes, with each generation inheriting a world that could feel familiar and still be unstable. This long duration matters because it means landscapes had time to be remade. Rock could be ground down, valleys could be deepened, and soils could be moved across great distances by wind and water. It also means that adaptation was not a one-time trick. It was a continuing practice. The Ice Age shaped not only the land, but also the rhythms of survival, movement, and invention over an almost unimaginable stretch of time. Glaciers carved valleys so deep, they later filled into famous lakes. A glacier is not just frozen water sitting still. It is slow force, patient and relentless, pressing and grinding as it moves. Over long spans of time, that moving ice can scoop out basins, deepen existing valleys, and smooth rugged rock into broad curved walls. When the climate warmed, the ice withdrew and left those hollows ready to collect meltwater and rain. Many well-known lakes owe their shape to this process, including much of the Great Lakes system. Their coastlines follow the scars of excavation, and their depths reflect where ice once had the strongest grip. The result is a kind of geological memory you can visit in person. Stand on a lakeshore, look across the water, and you are looking into a space that ice hollowed out by sheer persistence. Humans reached the Americas during Ice Age times, likely via Beringia. Lower sea levels exposed a wide region between Northeast Asia and Northwest North America. It offered a route into a new hemisphere, and it was not simply a bridge to cross in a day. It was a place to live, with open habitats that could support large animals and the people who followed them. Families moving through such landscapes would have needed more than courage. They needed planning, social bonds, and knowledge of seasons. Clothing had to be warm and practical. Tools had to be repairable. Food had to be found even when storms arrived. Over time, groups spread and adapted to mountains, forests, coasts, and grasslands. The migration is still studied through archaeology, genetics, and ancient environments, and the details continue to sharpen. What remains steady is the scale of the achievement. People entered a vast new world and made it home. Ice sheets weighed so much that Earth's crust sank beneath them. Continents are not fixed like stone tablets. The outer shell of Earth can bend under extreme load, and an ice sheet is an extreme load. As ice piled up higher and spread wider, it pressed downward with a weight measured in trillions upon trillions of tons. The ground responded by sinking, sometimes by hundreds of feet. That sinking could change how rivers flowed and where coastlines sat. It could also influence where meltwater pooled along the ice margin. When you picture an ice sheet, it helps to picture the planet quietly yielding beneath it, like a mattress under a heavy body. This is not a metaphor for drama. It is a physical response, and it leaves measurable clues that scientists can still map today. The land we stand on has been flexed and shaped by the sheer mass of ancient ice. When the ice melted, the land began slowly springing back upward. Once the great weight was removed, the crust did not snap back like a rubber band. It rose at a measured pace, and in some regions, it is still rising now. This rebound can lift shorelines, tilt lake basins, and change how water drains through a region. It can even affect harbors and coastal infrastructure over long timescales. In places around Hudson Bay and parts of Scandinavia, you can find evidence in raised beaches, stranded marine sediments, and shifting coastlines. The remarkable part is the patience of the process. The ice is gone, yet the planet is still adjusting to its absence, as if finishing a movement that began thousands of years ago. This makes the Ice Age feel less like ancient history and more like an ongoing after effect. The land remembers the pressure, and it is still easing back toward balance. Tiny air bubbles in ice still hold ancient Ice Age atmospheres. As snow fell year after year, it slowly compressed into ice, and it trapped small pockets of air along the way. Those bubbles are time capsules. They preserve samples of the ancient atmosphere, including greenhouse gases that influence temperature. By drilling ice cores and analyzing the trapped air, researchers can compare past carbon dioxide and methane levels with temperature changes recorded in the ice itself. That allows a direct window into how the climate system behaved when the world was colder, dustier, and often windier. The bubbles also help anchor timelines. Layers in an ice core can be counted and matched with chemical signals from distant events. What looks like clear ice is actually a stacked archive of air, snowfall, and chemistry. It is hard to overstate how strange and wonderful this is. A breath from deep time still waits inside frozen water, ready to be measured. Abrupt climate flips happened, warming some regions within decades. Not all climate change in the past was slow and steady. In the North Atlantic region, evidence shows that temperatures sometimes jumped quickly, within spans that fit inside a human lifetime. These shifts are recorded in ice layers, ocean sediments, and changes in ancient ecosystems. One leading idea points to the ocean's conveyor of heat. When fresh water from melting ice changed the saltiness of surface waters, it could disrupt how heat moved through the Atlantic. That would ripple outward, shifting winds and rainfall patterns far beyond the sea itself. The result could be sudden regional warming, followed by periods of cooling, then another jump. For people and animals living through it, the world would have felt unpredictable. Seasons would change character. Habitats would move. Food sources would shift. The Ice Age was not a single frozen mood. It could snap between states, reminding us that Earth's systems have thresholds, and they can be crossed quickly. Ice ages are paced by slow changes in Earth's orbit and tilt. Think of Earth as a spinning top that never stays perfectly steady. Over long stretches of time, its path around the sun subtly shifts shape. Its axis slowly wobbles, and the angle of its tilt gently changes. These motions do not create an ice age by themselves. Instead, they change how sunlight is shared between seasons and latitudes. In some eras, northern summers become a little cooler, and that matters more than you might expect. Cooler summers mean winter snow has a better chance of surviving. Surviving snow brightens the surface, and bright surfaces reflect more sunlight. That reflection encourages even cooler conditions, and the cycle can build. It is astonishing that movements you would never feel and could never notice by looking at the sky can help set the tempo for ice sheets that transform continents. Snow that survives summer can grow into glaciers over long time. A glacier can begin with something as ordinary as stubborn snow. In a place where summers are cool enough, a patch of snow lasts past the warm season and welcomes the next winter's fall. Year after year, layers stack up. The lower layers get squeezed by the weight above, and airy snow crystals slowly collapse into denser ice. The change is gradual, like a soft blanket becoming a firm, translucent mass. As the pile thickens, gravity starts to matter in a new way. The ice begins to creep downhill, not because it is melting, but because it is heavy. This is how a small white patch can become a moving river of ice, with a life measured in centuries. It is a patient origin story, and it begins with one simple victory. Snow refuses to disappear when summer arrives. Glaciers move, not by sliding like blocks, but by flowing ice. It is tempting to imagine a glacier as a frozen slab that scrapes along the ground. In reality, much of its motion comes from within. Under immense pressure, ice can deform and creep, and the whole body can slowly flow like very thick honey. This flow creates tension near the surface, and that tension can open deep cracks called crevasses. In steep places, ice can tumble into chaotic towers and broken slabs, forming an icefall that looks like frozen rapids. Farther down, the flow may become smoother again, and the glacier carries its cargo onward. This is movement so slow that you can stand and watch without seeing it. Yet over seasons and years it can shift rocks, reshape slopes, and remake valleys. A glacier is not static scenery. It is a traveling landscape. A glacier's base can grind rock into fine powder called rock flour. Beneath a glacier, darkness hides a relentless workshop. As the ice moves, it drags stones and grit along the ground like sandpaper. The pressure is enormous, and the scraping never rests. Over time, solid bedrock is shaved into extremely fine particles, so small they can stay suspended in water for long distances. This powder changes the world in quiet ways. It makes meltwater more reflective, it alters how streams carry sediment, and it can change the chemistry of lakes by adding fresh mineral surfaces that react with water. It also tells a story about the glacier's journey. The minerals in that powder can reveal what kinds of rocks the ice crossed far upstream. What seems like simple muddy water is actually a record of abrasion, a signal that an ice river has been grinding its way across the land, grain by grain, for ages. Rock flour makes glacial rivers look milky blue and opaque. Stand beside a glacial stream and you might think someone poured paint into the current. The water can look pale, cloudy, and strangely luminous, with a blue or turquoise glow that seems almost unreal. The color comes from countless tiny particles suspended in the flow. They scatter light in a way that favors shorter wavelengths, and that can give the river its distinctive icy tint. The effect is strongest in bright daylight, when the sun turns the water into moving glass. It is beautiful, but it is also a clue. That milky look hints at powerful erosion happening out of sight, where ice and stone meet. The river becomes a messenger, carrying evidence of grinding from the glacier's base down into valleys and plains. Even the sound feels different, because fast, cold meltwater has a sharper edge. You are watching geology in transit. Glaciers can carry house-sized boulders far from their origins. A glacier is not only ice. It is also a transport system, and it can move objects that no flood could budge. When rock falls from a mountain wall onto a glacier, it can ride on the surface like a passenger on a slow conveyor belt. Other stones get frozen into the ice itself, held tight as the glacier flows. Over decades and centuries, these boulders travel great distances, crossing terrain they never could have rolled across on their own. Then, when the ice melts, the boulders are left behind in places that look completely wrong for them. Imagine finding a massive chunk of granite sitting in a field of limestone, with no nearby cliff to explain it. That mismatch is the point. These boulders are evidence that the land once had a moving ice road, strong enough to haul a house-sized load without wheels. Those stranded boulders are called erratics, and they map ice travel. An erratic is a rock that feels like it fell from the wrong planet because it does not match the local ground. Geologists love them for that very reason. The minerals inside an erratic can be matched to a distant source area, sometimes many miles away. By finding many erratics and comparing their origins, scientists can trace the direction an ice sheet once moved, almost like reconstructing a vanished set of arrows across the landscape. Some erratics became famous landmarks long before anyone understood glaciers. People built stories around them, used them as meeting points, and treated them as natural monuments. Today, they still serve as clues you can touch. They make the invisible visible. An ice sheet is gone, its edges forgotten, yet its path can be sketched again from these misplaced giants. A single boulder can point back to a faraway ridge and to a journey that took centuries. Many fjords are former glacial valleys drowned by rising seas. A fjord looks like a dramatic sea inlet, with steep walls and deep water that runs far inland. Its shape tells a deeper story. Long ago, thick ice occupied those valleys and deepened them well below the level of the sea. Later, when global waters rose, the ocean poured in and filled the over-deepened basin. What you see now is salt water resting inside a landform that was sculpted under ice. Fjords can be astonishingly deep, sometimes deeper than the nearby ocean shelf. Their waters often layer, with fresher water near the surface and denser salt water below. This can create unusual conditions for marine life, from rich plankton blooms to sheltered nurseries for fish. When you sail into a fjord, it can feel like entering a canyon that became a coastline. It is a place where an ancient cold shape still guides modern tides. Some coastlines were once dry plains, now hidden underwater shelves. Walk along a beach, and it is easy to forget how temporary a shoreline can be. During colder times, when sea levels were lower, the edge of the ocean sat far beyond the modern coast. Wide continental shelves were exposed as dry land, with river channels, marshes, and grazing grounds. Some of these lost landscapes were large enough to support long-term human travel and animal migration, and they may hold traces of that history. Today, researchers use sonar mapping, sediment cores, and underwater archaeology to search for drowned river valleys and ancient shorelines. In places like the North Sea, the idea of submerged landscapes has a name, and it carries a haunting promise of campsites and forests now beneath waves. These shelves remind us that the sea does not only erase, it also seals. Underwater, the past can be preserved in sand and silt, waiting in silence. Ice Age winds spread vast blankets of dust called loess. In cold, dry climates, strong winds can pick up fine sediments from river plains and glacial outwash and carry them far away. Over time, that airborne dust settles into thick deposits, sometimes piling up like soft, pale cliffs. Loess can drape over hills, fill valleys, and smooth a landscape into gentle contours that look almost sculpted. What makes it fascinating is how far it can travel. A grain of dust lifted in one place can end up hundreds of miles away, building a layer that becomes part of the ground itself. These deposits also preserve clues about past climates, because their layers can record changing wind strength and shifting sources of sediment. When you see a loess bluff cut by a river, you are looking at wind turned into earth. It is a reminder that ice ages were not only about freezing. They were also about air in motion, moving continents by the handful. Loess soils later became some of the world's richest farmland. Long after the wind settled, those thick dust deposits became a quiet gift to future farmers. Loess breaks down into soils that can hold water well and still drain enough to keep roots breathing. It also tends to be packed with minerals that plants crave, released as the grains weather over time. That combination helped create regions where crops could thrive year after year, and where communities could grow into towns, then cities. Parts of the American Midwest, the Danube Basin, and northern China all include Loess's landscapes that became agricultural powerhouses. There is also a hidden drama to it. Loess can stand in steep, near-vertical faces when dry, then collapse when soaked. Human history in Loess country often includes both abundance and risk. A climate shaped the dust. The dust shaped the soil. The soil shaped civilizations. Permafrost locks soil in ice, sometimes for tens of thousands of years. In the far north, some ground stays frozen year-round, and that changes what time even means. Layers of soil can remain locked like a deep freezer, preserving roots, pollen, insects, and the remains of animals long after they would have decayed elsewhere. Some of those frozen layers formed during Ice Age conditions, and they have persisted through warmer intervals, protected by cold temperatures and insulating snow. Permafrost can also trap ice wedges that grow when cracks fill with meltwater, then refreeze and expand year after year. These wedges can form striking patterns across the tundra. For scientists, permafrost is both archive and warning light. It holds clues about ancient environments, and it can reveal what the landscape was like when glaciers were near. For anyone living on it, it is a foundation that can feel solid, until warming turns stability into sinkholes, slumps, and shifting ground. Thawing permafrost can release ancient carbon back into the air. When frozen ground warms, it does not only soften, it wakes up. Microbes that were once slowed by cold can begin breaking down long-stored perm material, and that process releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Some of the carbon in permafrost was captured by Ice Age plants that grew under different skies, then became buried and frozen before they could fully decompose. Thaw can also create soggy conditions that favor methane production, and methane is especially potent at trapping heat. In some places, thawing permafrost causes the land to collapse into pits and ponds. Those new wetlands can speed microbial activity even more. This is why permafrost matters far beyond the Arctic. It is not just local dirt and ice. It is a global storehouse of carbon, held in place by cold. As that cold loosens, the past can begin influencing the future in a measurable way. Giant ground sloths could stand tall enough to reach tree branches. Picture an animal built like a slow-moving tank, yet surprisingly versatile in its own careful way. Giant ground sloths were not the small tree climbers people imagine today. Some species could rise up on powerful hind limbs and use their tails like a tripod support. That stance freed their long forelimbs to pull branches closer and strip leaves. Their claws looked fearsome, and they probably were. But those claws were also tools for digging and gripping. Fossil evidence suggests they could excavate burrows or reshape the ground, and that would have changed their surroundings in subtle ways. Imagine one of these animals moving through a woodland edge, feeding higher than most other herbivores could reach. It was a different kind of grazer, one that could browse like a living crane. When such large plant eaters disappear, the plants they shaped can change too, altering whole local ecosystems. Saber-toothed cats hunted large prey with carefully protected canines. Those famous long teeth were not rugged daggers meant for smashing bone. They were more like delicate blades, and that meant the animal had to hunt with precision. The rest of the body helped. Saber-toothed cats often had powerful forelimbs and thick neck muscles that could pin prey and control the moment of attack. The strategy likely focused on bringing down large animals by targeting soft tissue, then quickly withdrawing before struggling prey could break those valuable teeth. Their jaws also opened wider than many modern big cats, which helped place the canines where they needed to go. This kind of hunting suggests patience, positioning, and an understanding of risk. It also makes the Ice Age feel more vivid. Predators were not only larger, they were specialized. They were shaped by the availability of big prey and by the dangers of taking it down. Every hunt was a balance between reward and ruin. Direwolves likely ranged widely across open Ice Age landscapes. In a world of broad grasslands and shifting herds, endurance and teamwork could mean everything. Direwolves were built for power, with robust jaws and sturdy bodies that suggest they could handle tough conditions and challenging prey. They likely moved across large territories, following seasonal opportunities and competing with other predators, such as big cats and bears. Fossils from places like the La Brea tar pits hint at how common they could be in some regions, and how dangerous the landscape was for any animal that stumbled into trouble. A pack-based life would have offered advantages, since groups can test prey, push toward weakness, and defend a kill against rivals. Yet pack living also requires coordination, communication, and social rules. That makes them fascinating beyond their size. They were not lone monsters in a frozen scene. They were social hunters in a busy ecosystem, shaped by competition and cooperation in equal measure. Short-faced bears were powerful sprinters, built for brief, terrifying chases. Some Ice Age bears looked less like lumbering forest giants and more like long-legged runners. Short-faced bears had proportions that suggest speed over distance, with high shoulders and long limbs that could cover ground fast. That changes the story you tell yourself about safety. In open country, a fast bear becomes a different kind of threat, and it may have been able to steal kills from other predators through sheer intimidation. Some researchers think it might be more of a scavenger with an attitude, arriving quickly and forcing others away. Others argue it could also hunt, especially if prey was already stressed by harsh seasons. Either way, it likely sat near the top of the food web. Imagine seeing one on the horizon, taller at the shoulder than a person and moving with purpose. The Ice Age had predators that did not only stalk in shadows. Some could simply arrive and change everything in moments. Woolly rhinoceroses had thick coats for bitter steppe winters. A rhinoceros sounds like a creature of heat and dust, yet the Ice Age produced one dressed for cold. Woolly rhinos carried dense fur and a layer of fat that helped them conserve warmth on frigid plains. Their bodies were compact, which reduces heat loss, and their ears and tails were shorter than those of many warm climate relatives. Their horns were impressive, and the front horn in particular may have helped them sweep aside snow to reach vegetation. They lived on open steppe and tundra, sharing space with mammoths and other grazers. Cave paintings show that humans noticed them, remembered them, and chose to depict their distinctive shape. That connection matters. It reminds you that these were not mythical beasts. They were real animals that breathed cold air and left tracks in snowy ground, seen by human eyes. Their extinction was a turning point, and it changed the character of northern ecosystems that once supported immense grazers. Cave lions were larger than many modern lions living today. When you imagine a lion, you might picture the savannas of Africa. The Ice Age offered a different stage. Cave lions lived across parts of Eurasia and even into North America, and many were larger and more powerfully built than the lions most people know. They likely hunted big prey, including deer, horses, and young mammoths when the opportunity was right. Their world was colder, and that can favor larger bodies that retain heat more efficiently. Despite the name, they were not animals that lived in caves. The label comes from their bones being found in caves, often carried in by water, predators, or human activity. Humans also painted them, capturing their profile with startling confidence. Those images are a rare bridge across time. They show that people did not only fear these predators, they observed them closely, and they remembered. A larger lion in a colder world reminds you that Ice Age landscapes were not empty. They were crowded with formidable life. The Irish elk carried antlers so wide they could span a doorway. These antlers were not a minor ornament. They were an enormous structure, grown and shed repeatedly, which required abundant nutrition and strong health. That alone tells you something about the landscapes they lived in. The environment had to provide enough minerals and food to support that yearly investment. The antlers likely played a role in display and competition, and they would have turned the animal into a walking signal visible from far away. Yet there is a trade-off. Wide antlers can be awkward in dense forests. So many scientists think these deer favored open woodlands and grasslands where there was room to move. Their fossils have been found in many parts of Europe and Asia, which shows a broad range across changing climates. People sometimes call them giant, and that is fair. Still, the most astonishing part might be the biology. Bone can grow at remarkable speed when hormones and resources align. Each set of antlers was a seasonal masterpiece, built for one purpose, then discarded and regrown like a ritual of survival and status. Steppe bison formed enormous herds across cold grassland plains. Picture a horizon that seems to move. In parts of the Ice Age world, bison gathered in numbers so large that a distant line of dark backs could look like a traveling shadow. These herds were engines of the ecosystem. Their grazing kept grasses from turning into dense scrub, and their hooves broke crusted soil so new shoots could take hold. They also fertilized the land as they went, stitching nutrients back into the ground in a way that encouraged fresh growth the next season. For predators, a herd was both opportunity and danger. One strong animal was hard enough to bring down. Thousands together meant vigilance, confusion, and sharp horns everywhere. For humans, herds shaped travel decisions. You could follow them for food and materials, or avoid them when the weather turned and the animals grew restless. In a cold world, moving herds were living weather patterns. Musk oxen survived by forming defensive circles against predators. When danger approached, these animals did not always run. Instead, they could gather into a tight ring, heads outward, horns ready, with calves protected in the center. It is a simple formation, and it is brilliant. A wolf pack relies on finding an opening. A circle denies openings. It turns many bodies into one war, and it forces a predator to gamble on getting close to heavy horns and thick skulls. This behavior also reveals something about the landscape. In open tundra, where there are few trees to hide behind, cooperation becomes shelter. Musk oxen also carry dense coats that trap warm air, and their long guard hairs can brush the snow like a curtain. During storms, groups may huddle and face the wind together. The scene is both harsh and reassuring. Survival is not only strength. It is also coordination, calmness, and a shared decision to stand firm. Arctic foxes can change coat color, blending with snow or tundra. In winter, white fur can turn a hunter into a ghost. In summer, that same whiteness would stand out like a flare against rocks and brown ground. Arctic foxes solve this problem by shifting their coats with the seasons, trading snowy camouflage for darker tones when the land is bare. This change is not a costume. It is a response to daylight and hormones, timed to the rhythm of the year. Their bodies are also built for cold efficiency. They have short ears to reduce heat loss, furry foot pads for traction and insulation, and a thick tail that can wrap around the face like a scarf when they rest. Their hunting is clever and opportunistic. They listen for movement under snow, then leap and punch through the crust with paws and jaws. In Ice Age landscapes, this kind of flexibility mattered. When food is unpredictable, the ability to disappear, endure, and improvise becomes its own superpower. Some Ice Age ecosystems were dry, windy, and surprisingly treeless. Cold does not always mean wet. In many regions, moisture was locked up in ice, and that left the air drier than people expect. Winds could sweep across open ground with little to slow them, and trees struggled to take hold where summers were short and soils were thin. The result was a landscape that could feel almost steppe-like, with grasses, hardy herbs, and scattered shrubs instead of forests. That openness changed everything you could see and everything that could see you. Predators had fewer places to hide, and prey had fewer places to vanish. Sound traveled differently. Smells carried farther. Travel routes were shaped by wind exposure and shelter, not just by distance. Dust could lift easily, and snow could be stripped from ridges and piled into drifts in low places. This was not a silent, frozen world. It was active, restless, and often abrasive, with weather that could sandblast skin and reshape dunes. Treeless does not mean empty. It means wide, demanding space. A mammoth steppe supported grazers more than thick forests did. It sounds backward, yet open grasslands can be more generous than dark woods for large plant eaters. Grasses and flowering plants regrow quickly, and they can pack a lot of energy into leaves and seeds across a broad area. In parts of the Ice Age north, this created a productive mosaic of pasture, with seasonal bursts of food that could sustain herds of mammoths, bison, horses, and other grazers. Forests can be rich too, but trees lock much of their growth into trunks and high branches, which are harder for many animals to reach. Open steppe also allows animals to spot threats earlier, which can make it safer for grazing in groups. This ecosystem likely ran on movement. Grazers shifted with the seasons, and their feeding helped keep the steppe open. It was a partnership between plants and mouths, between regrowth and grazing pressure. When climates warmed and moisture patterns changed, shrubs and trees gained ground, and that changed the menu. Productivity can vanish when a landscape's balance tips. Glacial meltwater built huge outwash plains of sand and gravel. When glaciers melt, the water does not drift away politely. It surges, braids, and roars across the land, carrying sediments that the ice had scraped loose. These meltwater rivers can spread into wide fans, dropping sand and gravel in layered sheets that stretch for miles. The surface can look flat and plain, yet beneath it lies a complex stack of channels and deposits, like a frozen snapshot of river chaos. Outwash plains can redirect drainage, bury older landscapes, and create wide areas where water sinks quickly into porous ground. That can feed aquifers and springs long after the ice is gone. Walking on an outwash plain today, you might see only pebbles and scrubby plants. Under your feet is a message from a time when meltwater was building terrain at speed, sorting stones by size and laying down the raw materials that later rivers would cut into. It is construction by flood, guided by gravity, powered by ice turning back into water. Those gravels now fill riverbeds and construction quarries worldwide. Many of the stones under modern bridges and roads began as debris moved by Ice Age water. Gravel deposits from ancient meltwater are often clean, well sorted, and abundant, which makes them valuable for building. Quarries dig into these old layers and pull out material for concrete, drainage systems, and rail beds. It is a strange connection. A highway overpass can be held up by rocks that were once rolled and rinsed in a torrent beside a retreating glacier. Gravel also shapes living rivers. Where thick deposits remain, rivers can braid into multiple channels, shifting course after storms and building new bars overnight. Fish habitat, flood risk, and water clarity can all be influenced by how much gravel is available and how easily it moves. Even in cities, you can sometimes spot the evidence in river terraces, raised benches of gravel that mark older river levels. The Ice Age did not only sculpt scenic lakes and valleys. It also stockpiled the gritty materials that modern societies build with every day. Glaciers polish bedrock smooth and leave long scratches called striations. If you ever see bare rock that looks rubbed clean, you might be looking at the signature of moving ice. As glaciers travel, stones trapped at the base grind against the ground like chisels and sandpaper combined. Over time, the surface can become polished, and it can also be scored with parallel grooves. These scratches are not random. They tend to run in consistent lines, as if a giant hand dragged a comb across stone. Sometimes the grooves are delicate. Sometimes they are deep enough to catch water and shadow. They can appear on mountaintops, in valleys, and on islands, anywhere ice once pressed and moved. Striations are exciting because they are immediate. You do not need a laboratory to appreciate them. You can put your hand on the rock and feel a direction in the stone itself. It is physical evidence that a glacier once passed over that exact spot, and it did so with enough force to reshape the surface permanently. Striations record the exact direction a glacier once flowed. A scratching rock can be a compass needle pointing into the past. Because the grooves align with the movement of ice, they can reveal which way a glacier traveled across a landscape. That matters when you are trying to reconstruct an ice sheet that is long gone. Scientists combine striation directions from many locations to map flow patterns, and those patterns can show where ice domes sat and how meltwater might have drained. The directions can also reveal surprises. In some regions, flow lines change over time, which suggests that ice dynamics shifted as climate changed or as ice thickness grew and shrank. On a single outcrop, you might even find cross-cutting sets of grooves, like handwriting from different eras layered on the same page. Reading them is a kind of detective work. You look for consistent trends, you compare with other clues like moraines and erratics, and a moving ice sheet begins to take shape in your mind. It is remarkable that something as simple as a line in stone can help redraw an ancient world map. Rounded hills called drumlins were shaped beneath moving ice. A drumlin is a hill with a smooth, streamlined form, often longer than it is wide, like a spoon turned over on the land. What makes it mesmerizing is where it forms. It is shaped under ice, out of sight, by processes that can still be difficult to pin down in detail. Many drumlins are made of compacted sediment, molded as ice flows above, and their long axes tend to point in the direction of movement. From the ground, a single drumlin can look like an ordinary rise. From the air, drumlin fields can look like ripples left by a vanished current. These hills show that glaciers do not only erode. They also sculpt and organize loose materials, turning chaotic debris into patterned terrain. Crumb in landscapes can affect drainage, soil development, and why roads and farms later fit most easily. They are not just relics. They are practical landforms that still shape human choices. Beneath every drumlin is the memory of ice that once pressed, flowed, and quietly arranged the earth. Drumlins can form swarms, like streamlined islands in a frozen sea. Seen one by one, these hills can seem ordinary. Seen from above, they become a startling pattern. Whole landscapes can be covered in aligned drumlins, each one pointing the same way, as if the ground itself was combed by a colossal current. This is why pilots, map makers, and later satellite images transformed how we understand them. The swarm shows direction, speed, and persistence, because the hills line up with the flow of ice that shaped them. In some regions, roads curve around drumlins, farms sit on their well-drained slopes, and wetlands gather in the low spaces between. People live inside the pattern without noticing it. Then you see an aerial view and the spell breaks. The land reveals a hidden geometry, and it is all the aftermath of moving ice. Kettle lakes appear when buried ice blocks melt and collapse. Sometimes a glacier leaves behind more than rubble. As it retreats, chunks of ice can break off and get buried by sand and gravel. For a while, the surface can look stable, like ordinary ground. Then the hidden ice melts, the overlying sediment slumps downward, and a steep-sided hollow appears. If water collects, a kettle lake is born. Many are small and round, like dimples pressed into the earth. Some become ponds rimmed with reeds. Others turn into bogs that build thick peat and preserve ancient plant remains. Kettles can also surprise builders, because the ground can settle unevenly as melting continues. What looks like calm water today began as a delayed collapse, a landscape waiting to drop. It is a quiet reminder that the end of an ice sheet can still feel active, even after the ice has moved on. Glacial moraines are ridges that mark former ice sheet edges. A retreating glacier does not vanish like fog. It leaves a border. At the ice margin, debris piles up, carried in the ice or pushed ahead of it like a slow bulldozer. When the ice stabilizes for a time, that pile can grow into a ridge. Later, when the glacier pulls back, the ridge remains as a line in the land. Moraines can be steep, stony, and irregular, with boulders mixed into clay and sand. They can dam water and create lakes or redirect streams into new courses. They can also become natural routes because a ridge offers drainage and a long view. If you hike along one, you are walking the footprint of an ice edge, tracing where frozen movement once paused. It is a boundary made of leftovers, yet it can be sharp enough to read like a map. Some moraines run for hundreds of miles across landscapes. In certain places, moraines do not look like local piles of rubble. They look like long walls, stretching across states or countries, crossing valleys and ridges as if drawn with intent. These extended ridges formed when an ice sheet held its position for a long time, delivering more debris to the same edge, season after season. The result can shape regional geography. Long Island and Cape Cod, for example, owe much of their form to glacial deposits, with ridges and plains that reflect the ice margin's behavior. Similar ridges in the interior can guide highways, rail lines, and city growth, because they offer higher ground and stable drainage. They also influence where lakes and wetlands collect, because a ridge can trap water behind it. A moraine like this is not a single landmark. It is a continental scale signature, showing that ice once had a steady frontier. The last glacial maximum peaked when ice reached its greatest extent. There was a time when the planet's cold was at its strongest grip, and ice sheets were at their widest reach. This peak is called the last glacial maximum, and it sits like a high watermark in Earth's recent climate history. The world at that moment was different in ways you could feel in your bones. Vast areas were colder, drier, and windier, and deserts expanded in some regions because moisture patterns shifted. Forests retreated, grasslands spread, and coastlines moved outward as oceans fell. In the north, ice covered enough land to change global sea level and planetary reflectivity, sending more sunlight back into space. For scientists, this period is a benchmark. It helps test climate models and explains why many species distributions look the way they do today. It was the height of ice, and it set the stage for a long, uneven thaw. Ice Age sea level drop exposed broad coastal migration routes. When the ocean pulled back, it revealed more than empty sand. It uncovered wide coastal shelves that could act like natural highways, with fresh water from rivers, edible plants, and rich marine life nearby. Along some coastlines, travel may have been easier than pushing through inland ice or rugged mountains. People could move with the shore as a guide, harvesting shellfish, seaweed, fish, seabirds, and seals when conditions allowed. In some places, kelp forests may have formed a kind of living pantry, offering dependable resources that supported long journeys. The challenge is that many of these ancient routes are now underwater, which makes direct evidence hard to find. Still, the idea explains how movement could happen even in harsh climates. Lower seas did not only change maps, they opened corridors, and those corridors may have helped shape the spread of humans into new lands. Ancient shorelines now sit far inland as sea levels rose. If you walk inland and find rounded beach pebbles on a hill, it can feel like a prank played by geology. Yet rising seas after the Ice Age left behind old coastlines in surprising places. Wave-cut terraces can form flat benches, and beach ridges can build long, low mounds that march across the land. Sometimes you can even find marine shells far from the modern ocean, preserved in sediments that were once coastal shallows. These features are timestamps. They show where the sea used to be, and they reveal how quickly shorelines can migrate when global water volume changes. For ancient people living near coasts, this would have been a slow but relentless shift, with familiar bays flooding and new estuaries forming. Today, those inland shorelines help scientists reconstruct past sea levels and understand how landscapes responded as ice sheets melted and oceans returned. Meltwater sometimes surged in sudden floods, reshaping continents quickly. A glacier can store water like a dam, and it can release it with shocking speed. Meltwater can pool in hidden basins, in channels under the ice, or behind walls of frozen debris. If pressure builds or a barrier fails, the water can burst out in an outwash surge that behaves like a natural disaster on a gigantic scale. These floods can tear up soil, move boulders, and carve new channels in a matter of days. They can also leave behind strange signatures, like oversized gravel bars and streamlined islands that do not fit modern rivers. The important point is tempo. The Ice Age was long, but it also had moments of sudden violence, when stored energy in water was released all at once. Landscapes that seem to require ages to form can, in rare cases, be drafted quickly by a flood that has no patience. One famous flood likely helped carve the channeled scablands. In eastern Washington, there is a landscape that looks like it was attacked, not eroded. Dry canyons, scoured bedrock, and enormous ripple marks sit far from any river large enough to explain them today. This is the channeled scablands, and it became famous because it forced scientists to take catastrophic flooding seriously. The idea is that massive outburst floods swept across the region, stripping soils and plucking rock, then dumping gravel in huge bars. Some ripple marks are so large that they resemble dunes, yet they were shaped by water, not wind. There are also giant potholes drilled into rock by swirling stones, as if nature ran a colossal drill press. The debate over how it formed became a turning point in geology because it asked a bold question. Can rare events do the kind of work we usually assign to long time? In this case, the land strongly suggests yes. Glacial lakes formed behind ice dams, then drained catastrophically. As ice blocked valleys and meltwater collected, enormous lakes could appear where none had existed before. Their shorelines could stretch for miles, and their depths could hide forests, hills, and whole river channels. The dam was not concrete. It was ice, and ice can fail. Sometimes it floats, fractures, or melts from below. Sometimes water finds a weak point and cuts a tunnel that rapidly widens. When the dam breaks, the lake can empty in a rush, sending floods downstream that reshape valleys and spread thick layers of sediment. Afterward, the lake may vanish completely, leaving flat lakebed plains and finely layered deposits that record seasonal cycles. These layers can be counted like pages, offering a timeline of how the lake lived and changed. Ice-dammed lakes show how the end of glaciation could be unstable. Water gathered, waited, and then moved with sudden force. Lake Agassiz was once larger than many modern Great Lakes combined. For a time, meltwater pooled along the edge of the retreating ice sheet and formed a lake so vast it behaved like an inland sea. Its shorelines built beaches, sandbars, and wave-cut terraces that still sit across the prairies like ghost coasts. In some places you can walk a dry ridge and realize you are standing on an ancient beachfront, far from any ocean. This lake changed the land beneath it. The weight of water pressed down, then later released, and the ground tilted as it adjusted. That tilt means old shorelines can rise and fall across long distances, like a frozen wave in the terrain. The lake also had multiple outlets at different times, spilling into different river systems as ice barriers shifted. It was a moving, living feature of deglaciation, and it left fingerprints that maps still reveal. When ice dams failed, freshwater pulses disturbed ocean circulation patterns. When a giant glacial lake drains, it does not trickle out. It surges, and that surge can dump a vast volume of fresh water into the ocean in a short span. Fresh water is lighter than salty water, so it can form a cap at the surface. That surface cap can make it harder for cold, salty water to sink, and sinking is one of the motors that helps drive major ocean currents. If that motor slows, heat can be redistributed in surprising ways. Some regions may cool even as the planet is in a general warming trend. Storm tracks can shift, sea ice can expand, and marine ecosystems can be stressed by changing temperature and nutrient delivery. The startling part is the chain reaction. A failure at an ice edge on a single coastline can ripple through the ocean's plumbing and alter climate far beyond the place where the flood began. Ocean circulation changes can shift rainfall belts across the globe. The ocean does not only move water, it moves heat, and heat helps decide where the sky opens. When currents change, the patterns of warm and cool sea surface water also change, and the atmosphere responds. Rainfall belts can slide north or south, monsoons can strengthen or weaken, and regions that once relied on predictable wet seasons can dry out. Over long distances, this can alter grasslands, forests, and deserts without any local cause that seems obvious. It can also shift where rivers get their replenishing rains, which then affects lakes, wetlands, and coastal deltas. During Ice Age transitions, these changes could happen alongside moving ice, creating a world where both land and sky were reorganizing. It is a reminder that climate is connected. A current in one ocean basin can influence clouds in another hemisphere, and people on the ground would only see the result, not the hidden driver. The Younger Dryas was a sharp return to near glacial conditions. Near the end of the last ice age, warming was underway. Then the climate abruptly lurched colder again for about 1,000 years. This episode is called The Younger Dryas, and it is one of the most dramatic surprises in recent climate history. In parts of the North Atlantic region, temperatures dropped, glaciers stabilized or advanced, and ecosystems that had begun to shift toward warmer species were pushed back. Evidence comes from many sources, including pollen in lake sediments, changes in insects, and chemical signals preserved in ice. For humans living through it, the timing could have been unsettling. Resources that had become more reliable could tighten the game. Migration routes could change with expanding ice and harsher seasons. The Younger Dryas matters because it shows that Earth's climate can have reversals, even during a broad trend in the opposite direction. It is a cold interruption written clearly into natural records. After the Younger Dryas, warming resumed, and forests expanded rapidly. When the cold snap ended, many regions warmed quickly enough that plants responded within generations. Tree lines marched northward, and new forests took root on land freshly uncovered by ice and meltwater. The shift did not happen everywhere in the same way. Local soils, moisture, and seed sources shaped the speed of change, Yet the overall pattern is striking in pollen records. Grasses and tundra plants give way to shrubs, then to birch and pine, and later to mixed forests in places with enough warmth and rain. As forests spread, they changed more than scenery. They altered habitats for animals, they influenced how snow accumulated, and they affected how sunlight was absorbed at the surface. For people, expanding forests reshaped travel and hunting, replacing open views with thicker cover and new prey communities. This rebound also set the stage for the stable climates in which farming later became possible. It was a botanical turning of the page. Some glaciers still preserve layers from Ice Age snowfall seasons. In certain cold places, snowfall stacks like pages that do not get erased. A winter layer may be finer and lighter, while a summer layer can be denser from brief melting and refreezing. Over time, those layers are buried and compressed into fern, then into solid ice, yet the layering can remain visible like faint stripes. Scientists can use these layers to count years, much like tree rings, and to connect each year with chemical clues. A storm from the ocean can leave a salt signal. A distant wildfire can leave soot. Changes in temperature can shift the ratio of certain forms of water in the ice. The marvel is that a single glacier can hold a seasonal rhythm from deep time. It is not only a frozen mass. It is a calendar made of snow, pressed flat and preserved, with each layer carrying hints about winds, storms, and the atmosphere that delivered it. Ice cores show carbon dioxide was lower during glacial periods. By measuring the air trapped in ancient ice, scientists can see that carbon dioxide was much lower during the coldest parts of the last glacial cycle. Typical values were around 180 parts per million, compared with about 280 in the pre-industrial warm period. That difference matters because carbon dioxide helps trap heat in the atmosphere. Lower levels encourage cooling, and cooling can help keep ice in place, which then reflects more sunlight and supports further cooling. The story is not a simple on-switch. Carbon dioxide changes alongside ocean chemistry, biology, and circulation, and it can lag or lead depending on the phase of climate change. Still, the link is unmistakable in the long record. A colder world had less carbon dioxide in the air, and that fact is captured directly in the breath of the past. It is hard to find a clearer piece of evidence that greenhouse gases and global temperature are closely connected over time. Dustier air during glacials left darker bands in ice records. During many glacial periods, the atmosphere carried more dust. Dry ground, sparse vegetation, and strong winds made it easier for fine particles to lift into the sky and travel far. Some of that dust eventually fell onto ice sheets, where it became trapped in annual layers. In an ice core, these dustier intervals can appear as darker, dirtier bands. Each band is a signal of climate conditions far beyond the drill site. The dust can come from distant deserts, from floodplains exposed by low seas, or from glacial sediments ground into fine powder. Dust can also affect climate in return. It can change how much sunlight the surface reflects, and it can deliver minerals to the ocean that influence microscopic life. What looks like a smudge in ice is actually a planet-wide fingerprint. It tells you that colder climates can be windier and harsher, and that even the air itself can carry the story of a changing world. Volcanoes can leave ash layers in ice, creating precise time markers. When a large volcano erupts, it can loft ash high into the atmosphere and spread it across continents and oceans. Some of that ash falls onto ice sheets, where it becomes sealed into the snowfall of that year. In an ice core, an ash layer can stand out sharply, sometimes visible to the naked eye, sometimes detected by chemistry. Because volcanic ash has a distinctive chemical signature, scientists can match the same eruption across different cores, and even across different archives like lake sediments. That matching helps lock timelines together. It turns a scattered set of records into a synchronized network, all sharing the same timestamps. Volcanic layers can also tell stories about short-term climate effects, since big eruptions can cool the atmosphere for a while by reflecting sunlight. In that way, an eruption becomes both a clock and an experiment, preserved in ice for thousands of years. Greenland ice preserves climate swings like a finely stacked archive. Greenland's ice sheet is a remarkable recorder because snowfall there can preserve rapid changes with crisp detail. Drill cores reveal patterns that rise and fall, sometimes in sharp steps, showing shifts in temperature, storminess, and atmospheric circulation. Changes in the chemistry of sea salts can hint at shifting winds over the North Atlantic. Variations in dust and acidity can point to broader environmental changes far away from the ice itself. The power of this archive is that it captures not only slow trends, but also the texture of change. You can see periods of stability, then sudden transitions, then new plateaus. That layered story has helped scientists test ideas about feedbacks in sea ice, ocean currents, and atmospheric jets. It also gives modern climate science a long baseline, showing what natural variability can look like when the planet is pushed by ice, oceans, and sunlight. Greenland ice is not just frozen water. It is a library of past climates, stacked one snowfall at a time. Antarctic ice holds an even longer climate record, reaching far deeper time. In Antarctica, cold is so persistent that ice can survive for astonishing spans, and that makes it a keeper of deep history. Snow falls, compresses, and locks away tiny samples of past air. Then it is buried by more years until the stack becomes a towering archive. Because parts of Antarctica have been stable and extremely cold for so long, some ice cores reach far beyond the reach of Greenland records. They let scientists compare many cycles of cold and warmth, and they help reveal how greenhouse gases and temperature move together across ages. The layers also hold traces of distant events. Sea salt hints at storms over the Southern Ocean. Dust can signal faraway deserts and changing winds. When researchers drill, they are not just sampling ice. They are reading time itself, one compressed winter at a time, preserved in the world's coldest library. The Ice Age helped shape modern river systems across many regions. Rivers often feel timeless, yet many of today's major waterways were rerouted or rebuilt by ice. When glaciers advanced, they blocked valleys and forced meltwater to find new paths. Some rivers were shoved into different basins entirely. Others were dammed into lakes until new outlets formed. As the ice retreated, huge volumes of meltwater rushed across the land, cutting channels, laying gravel, and reshaping floodplains. Even after the torrents eased, the new terrain guided where rivers could go. A river might follow the edge of a moraine, curve along an outwash plain, or spill through a gap that meltwater once exploited. This matters for people, because rivers shape where cities grow, where farms thrive, and where floods strike. When you look at a river map, you are also looking at a fossilized set of choices made by ice and meltwater. The Ice Age did not only carve scenery, it redesigned plumbing for entire continents. Glacial erosion can create basins that later become wetlands and lakes. A wetland can begin with a hollow, and a hollow can begin with ice. As glaciers grind and pluck at bedrock, they can leave behind shallow depressions and deeper scoops. When the ice melts, water gathers in those low spots, and the landscape starts a new chapter. Some basins become clear lakes with rocky shores. Others turn into marshes where reeds take hold, and peat slowly accumulates. These watery places become magnets for life, offering nurseries for insects and amphibians, feeding grounds for birds, and cooling refuges during hot summers. They also become natural sponges. Wetlands store floodwater, filter sediments, and release water slowly during dry periods. In many northern regions, a patchwork of ponds and bogs reflects where ice once paused, pressed, and moved on. That means a modern canoe route or a bird-filled marsh can be a direct gift from glacial sculpture. A basin made by erosion becomes a living habitat, and it can last for thousands of years. Many waterfalls exist because glaciers carved steps into bedrock. Waterfalls often feel like they were placed for beauty, yet many are the result of uneven carving by ice. A glacier can deepen one part of a valley more than another, especially where rock is softer or where ice flow focuses its power. When the ice retreats, streams return, and they encounter a sudden drop. Water pours over the steppe, and a waterfall is born. In some places, the steppe is a hard rock ledge that resisted grinding. In other places, it marks where a smaller-sized glacier joined a larger one, leaving a hanging valley that now spills into the main valley below. Over time, the waterfall can retreat upstream, cutting a gorge and reshaping the scene again. The important detail is the origin. The waterfall is not just a river feature. It is a post-glacial aftereffect, a place where water is still responding to a bedrock profile that ice engineered. When you stand in the mist, you are standing inside a delayed conversation between ice and gravity. In Europe, glaciers sculpted the Alps into sharp ridges and horns. The Alps were not shaped by ice alone, yet glaciers gave them much of their dramatic edge. When ice fills a valley, it carves a broad, curved trough. When several glaciers eat into a mountain from different sides, the remaining rock can be chiseled into steep ridges and pointed peaks called horns. The process is both simple and ruthless. Ice plucks blocks from cracks, carries debris, and grinds the bedrock as it flows. Over long periods, valleys widen, walls steepen, and peaks become more isolated. This is why many alpine landscapes feel like stone architecture. Knife-edged ridgelines form natural boundaries, and cirques create amphitheater-shaped bowls high on the mountainsides. These shapes influence everything that follows. Snow collects in cirques and can feed new glaciers. Trails and passes follow the lowest saddles between horns. Even weather is guided by these forms as wind funnels through carved valleys. The Alps are a famous mountain range, and they are also a record of ice at work, written in sharp lines. The Matterhorn's dramatic shape owes much to glacial carving. The Matterhorn looks like a mountain designed by an artist, yet its form is deeply geological. Over time, glaciers carved into the mountain from multiple sides, steepening its faces and sharpening its ridges. Freeze and thaw also helped, because water in cracks expands when it becomes ice, and that can pry rock apart. Erosion then carries the loosened material away, keeping the slopes steep. The result is a peak that feels cleanly cut, with distinct ridgelines that point towards surrounding valleys. What is captivating is the teamwork of processes. Ice did not invent the mountain's rock, but it refined the outline. It removed softer material, emphasized contrasts, and left behind a shape that catches light and shadow in bold blocks. When climbers approach, they are moving through glacially sculpted terrain even before they touch the rock. Moraines, polished slabs, and carved basins surround the mountain like a frame. The Matterhorn's silhouette is iconic, and it is also a lesson in how glaciers can turn a rugged mass into a sharp symbol. In North America, Yosemite's valley walls were steepened by glaciers. Yosemite Valley is famous for its towering cliffs, and glaciers helped give those walls their commanding posture. Rivers can carve deep valleys, yet they tend to cut narrow, V-shaped forms. glaciers widen and deepen, and they can turn a river valley into a broad trough with steep sides. As ice moved through Yosemite, it scoured the floor, plucked at fractured rock, and smoothed some surfaces into polished slabs. When the ice disappeared, the valley's shape remained, and the modern Merced River became a much smaller occupant of a much larger space. This mismatch is part of the wonder. A peaceful river flows through a valley built by something far heavier and more forceful. The cliffs also reveal the valley's ongoing life. Rockfalls still happen, and they remind you that steep walls are not permanent. They are maintained by gravity and weathering long after the glaciers that helped create them have gone. In Yosemite, you can feel the ice age in the scale of the empty space. Some deserts still carry ancient shorelines from glacial era lakes. A desert can hide a watery past in plain sight. In several arid basins, you can find curved ridges and terraces that trace the edges of long-vanished lakes. These shorelines can be surprisingly clear, like the rings left on a bathtub after the water drains away. During parts of the Ice Age, cooler temperatures reduced evaporation, and shifting storm tracks delivered more moisture to some interior regions. Lakes expanded, sometimes dramatically. They supported wetlands, fish, and birds, and they changed local climates around their shores. Later, as conditions dried, the lakes shrank and left behind salt flats and dust-prone lakebeds. The shorelines stayed, because waves had sorted gravels and built beaches that resisted later erosion. These features are not only scenic, they are tools for reconstruction. Scientists can date shoreline materials and map lake levels, then infer past rainfall and temperature patterns. In a modern desert, an ancient beach ridge can feel like a message from a different world, when the same basin held open water and a completely different kind of life. The Sahara was periodically wetter when climate patterns shifted. The Sahara is often treated as an eternal desert, yet its history includes greener chapters. At times, shifts in Earth's climate system strengthened monsoon rains across North Africa, and that brought lakes, rivers, and grasslands into places that are arid today. Evidence shows up in dried lake beds, ancient river channels, and rock art that depicts animals associated with wetter environments. When water returns to a desert, the change is not subtle. Vegetation spreads, dust decreases, and wildlife corridors open. People can travel and settle in regions that would later become nearly impassable. Then, when the monsoon weakens again, the landscape dries, lakes shrink, and dunes advance. These swings are a reminder that deserts can be dynamic and that rainfall belts can migrate on a planetary scale. For the Ice Age story, this matters because it shows how climate change is not only about ice sheets. It also rearranges where life can exist and where human journeys are possible. Ice Age climates changed habitats, pushing animals into new ranges. As temperatures and rainfall patterns shifted, animals could not vote to stay put. They either adapted, moved, or disappeared. Some species tracked their preferred conditions north or south, following grasslands, forests, or coastal zones as those habitats migrated. Others were squeezed into refuges, pockets where local conditions remained suitable even as the broader region changed. These movements reshaped ecosystems, because predators and prey that had rarely met could suddenly overlap, and competition could intensify. It also created evolutionary pressure. Populations separated by ice or by changing vegetation could diverge over time, becoming distinct lineages. For humans, shifting animal ranges changed where food could be found, and it could force new strategies, new routes, and new alliances. The landscape was not only a stage, it was a moving target. When climate nudges a habitat boundary, it nudges everything that depends on it. from insects to giants. The Ice Age was an age of migration, and the map of life was redrawn again and again. Human groups adapted with tailored clothing, needles, and layered shelters. Surviving long, cold seasons demanded more than bravery. It demanded design. People learned that warmth comes from trapping air, so they layered hides and furs, then shaped them to fit bodies instead of draping them loosely. Bone needles made that possible, along with fine cordage and careful stitching that could close gaps where wind sneaks in. Tailoring also meant mobility. A well-fitted hood, mittens, and boots let hands work and feet travel, even when skin would otherwise freeze. Shelters changed too. Instead of one thin barrier, many groups built layered walls and bedding, using hides, brush, and earth to slow heat loss. Inside, the space could be arranged around warmth, tools, and sleeping, like a small, portable home. These choices were technology, even when they looked simple. They turned a harsh climate into a place where families could still plan, craft, and persist. People used mammoth bone and hide to build sturdy dwellings. When timber was scarce, people looked to the biggest materials available. Mammoth bones could become a frame, with long ribs and tusks forming arches or supports that could stand against wind. Over that structure, thick hides could be stretched and anchored, then weighted with stones to keep the edges sealed. Inside, a hearth could be placed to warm the air, dry clothing, and keep tools workable. These homes were not random piles. They show planning, teamwork, and an understanding of how to shape space for comfort and safety. Some sites suggest repeated use, which hints at seasonal return and a memory of place. Imagine arriving after a long journey and recognizing the curve of bones you sat last year. A dwelling like this also turned hunting into architecture. Food, fuel, tools, and shelter could all come from the same animal. In the Ice Age, resourcefulness was not a virtue. It was a requirement. Cave art flourished during late Ice Age Europe, vivid and skilled. Deep inside caves, far from daylight, people painted with confidence and care. They used mineral pigments, charcoal, and sometimes the cave wall's natural curves to give animals a sense of volume. The images are often placed in chambers that require effort to reach, which suggests intention rather than casual doodling. Some paintings show overlapping figures, as if the wall was revisited across time. Others capture motion with surprising economy, a lifted leg, a turned head, a body that feels alive. These works are not only beautiful, they are evidence of minds that could imagine, remember, and communicate beyond immediate survival. Making art in darkness also required planning. You need light, you need time, and you need a reason to go there. The Ice Age world could be dangerous and demanding. These paintings show that it was also thoughtful, symbolic, and human in the fullest sense. Ice Age artists painted animals with movement, detail, and surprising realism. Some animal images are drawn with such accuracy that species can be identified by horn shape, mane, or body proportions. That realism hints at close observation, the kind you gain by tracking, watching, and living alongside wildlife. Many drawings use the uneven surface of rock to suggest muscle or depth, which turns the cave wall into part of the picture. In some places, artists layered paint, scratched lines, and shading, building a sense of motion that still feels immediate. This skill is even more striking when you remember the tools. There were no metal brushes or modern pigments. There was only ingenuity, hand-mixed color, and practiced technique. The realism also raises questions. Were these images teaching tools for young hunters? Were they memory, storytelling, ritual, or something else entirely? The answer may differ by place and time. What stays constant is the taunt. These artists could translate a living animal into lines and color that still speak across thousands of years. Stone tools became more specialized, matching different tasks and materials. Early tools could be multi-purpose, yet Ice Age life rewarded precision. Over time, people made distinct tool types for cutting meat, scraping hides, shaping wood, and working plant fibers. A sharp blade edge is wonderful for slicing, but a scraper with the right angle can clean a hide quickly and evenly. Points could be designed for different hunting strategies, from thrusting spears to lighter projectiles. Some stoneworkers chose particular rock types because they flaked predictably, and they carried good stone across long distances to keep a reliable supply. Toolkits became portable systems, with pieces that could be repaired or replaced. This is not just craftsmanship. It is planning for the future, anticipating needs before they arrive. A specialized tool also reflects knowledge of materials. Stone is not all the same. It breaks in different ways, and skilled hands learn to read it. In a cold world, better tools were not luxury. They were survival speed. Bone and antler tools expanded hunting and sewing possibilities. Stone can be sharp, yet it has limits. Bone and antler opened new shapes, new flexibility, and new kinds of strength. Antler can be carved into barbed points that hold fast, which is useful for fishing and for hunting animals that might otherwise escape. Bone can be polished into awls that punch neat holes, making sewing faster and more durable. These materials also allow curved forms that are harder to make from stone, such as hooks, toggles, and smooth handles that protect the hand. Working bone requires patience. It must be cut, scraped, and shaped, then sometimes hardened or polished. That effort suggests long hours of craft inside shelters, and it suggests knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Bone and antler tools also show a deep use of the whole animal. Nothing was wasted. By turning remains into equipment, people stretched each hunt into warmth, clothing, and future food security. Dogs may have begun their partnership with humans during late Ice Age times. At some point, a wary distance between wolves and people began to shrink. The change may have started around camp edges, where the boldest animals scavenged leftovers and gradually grew tolerant of human presence. For people, those animals offered advantages. They could warn of approaching danger, help track prey by scent, and perhaps assist in cornering game. For the animals, human camps offered food and shelter from larger predators. Over generations, natural selection would favor traits that fit life near humans, like lower aggression and better communication. This was not a single event. It was a slow co-evolution of trust. The earliest dogs were likely not pets in the modern sense. They were partners in a demanding landscape. Their presence would have changed how people traveled, hunted, and guarded supplies. It also would have changed human emotion. A watchful animal that stays near the fire reshapes the feeling of night. In the Ice Age, companionship could be practical and profound. Fire was essential, not only for warmth, but for cooking calories. In cold climates, food is fuel, and raw food does not always deliver enough. Cooking breaks down tough fibers, softens connective tissue, and makes many foods easier to digest. That means more usable energy from the same bite, which matters when the body is burning calories just to stay warm. Fire also makes certain foods safer, and it can turn otherwise bitter or hard plants into something edible. It extends daylight too. With light and heat, people can repair tools, sew and plan, even when winter darkness is long. Fire changes the social world as well. It creates a center, a place to gather, talk, and pass knowledge while hands stay busy. Managing a hearth requires skill, You need fuel, airflow, and protection from wind and snow. You also need restraint, because smoke in a shelter can be dangerous. A well-kept fire is technology you can feel on your face. In the Ice Age, it was a daily miracle that had to be earned. Cold climates increased daily energy needs, changing diets and strategies. When air is cold, the body spends more energy maintaining temperature, even at rest. Add long walks, heavy clothing, and the work of building shelter, and the daily demands climb quickly. That pressure shapes what people seek to eat. High-fat foods become precious because fat carries dense energy. Protein helps build and repair muscle, which matters when life is physically intense. People also had to think about storage and timing. A successful hunt could provide far more than a single meal, so drying, freezing, and protecting food from scavengers became essential. Seasonal planning mattered too. Some times of year offered migrating herds, while other times demanded broader foraging and careful rationing. This constant calculation likely influenced group size and movement. Travel could follow food, and social ties could help share risk when hunting failed. A cold climate does not just chill the skin. It reorganizes priorities, schedules, and the meaning of a good day. Coastal foraging became easier when retreating ice opened new shores. As ice withdrew, new coastlines appeared, and they came with reliable food sources. Rocky tide zones can provide shellfish, seaweed, and small fish, and these resources can be gathered with less risk than chasing large game across open ground. Coastal travel can also be straightforward, because the shoreline itself is a guide, and estuaries can offer fresh water mixed with marine abundance. New shores would have been busy places for birds and marine mammals too, which created additional opportunities for hunting and scavenging. People could time their days to tides, and they could learn the rhythms of seasons in a different way. Coastal living also changes tools. You need ways to pry, cut, carry, and preserve wet foods. You may need watercraft for islands and inlets. When the coast opens, it does not only add territory. It adds a new menu, a new calendar, and a new style of movement along the edge of land and sea. As ice melted, rising seas isolated populations on newly formed islands. When the great ice sheets melted, water returned to the oceans and coastlines began to creep inland. Low plains that had once been walkable corridors slowly flooded, and high ground that used to be part of the mainland became islands. That shift could separate animal herds and human communities without anyone traveling anywhere. One generation might know a broad coastal plain. A few generations later, the same place could be a chain of bays and channels. Isolation changes stories. It can limit mates and resources, and it can also protect unique traditions or species from outside competition. Over long periods, that separation can even nudge evolution, as island populations adapt to different food, predators, and space. The sea level rise also hid evidence, because former campsites and travel routes now lie offshore. The modern coastline is a recent outline drawn by meltwater, and it quietly rearranged who could meet whom. Some Ice Age extinctions happened soon after humans arrived in regions. In several parts of the world, the disappearance of large animals lines up closely with the first clear signs of people. That timing is one reason the Ice Age extinction story feels so intense. Humans were skilled hunters, and they brought tools, planning, and cooperation into landscapes that had never faced them before. Large animals often reproduce slowly, so even small added pressure can matter over time. There is also the human footprint beyond hunting. Fire can alter habitats, and competition for key resources can ripple outward. This pattern does not mean every loss has a single cause, and it does not paint ancient people as villains. It highlights how powerful a new predator can be, especially when ecosystems are already changing. The evidence comes from bones, cut marks, sites, and dates that stack up into a troubling sequence. Arrival, overlap, decline, absence. It is a sobering timeline written into the ground. Climate stress and hunting pressure may have combined to drive losses. Many megafauna did not face one challenge at a time. As climates shifted, habitats moved, food seasons changed, and familiar migration routes could become less reliable. At the same time, humans expanded into new areas and added a new kind of risk. Together, those pressures can act like a narrowing corridor. When the population is already strained by changing vegetation or harsher winters, it has less room to absorb losses from hunting or competition. Even if hunting is not constant, it can target adults, and adults are the engines of reproduction. The result can be a slow slide that suddenly becomes irreversible. This combined pressure idea also explains why some species vanished in some regions but survived elsewhere, because the mix of climate change, habitat flexibility, and human contact differed place to place. It is not a simple mystery with one culprit. It is a story of stress stacking until resilience runs out. Not all megafauna vanished. Some species survived into our present. The Ice Age did not end with a clean sweep. Some large animals endured and adapted, and their survival is part of what makes this era feel connected to today. Bison remain, though their range and numbers changed dramatically in recent history. Musk oxen still live in the Arctic, wearing coats that look like they were designed for the last glacial winds. Brown bears, wolves, and many deer species also persisted, shifting habitats as forests expanded and grasslands retreated. Survival often came down to flexibility. Species that could eat a wider variety of foods, live in different climates, or reproduce more quickly had a better chance. Geography mattered too. Some refuges stayed suitable even as the world warmed, and those pockets became lifeboats for lineages. When you see a modern bison or muskox, you are seeing an Ice Age veteran. It is a reminder that extinction was not fate for every giant, and that resilience can be just as dramatic as loss. Reindeer and caribou thrived by migrating with seasonal plant growth. In a world with strong seasons, timing can be everything. Reindeer and caribou learned to follow the wave of new plant growth as it moved across the landscape. Spring brings fresh shoots that are rich in nutrients, and moving with that green-up can support calves and help adults rebuild strength after winter. These herds can travel immense distances, guided by memory, scent, and social cues. Their bodies are built for it. Broad hooves help them move over snow and soft ground, and their insulating coats handle cold while still allowing heat to escape during long walks. They also have a remarkable ability to find food in winter, pawing through snow to reach lichens and other forage. This migration strategy does more than feed the animals. It shapes predators, it shapes human hunting routes, and it shapes the land through grazing patterns. Movement becomes a way of life, and it turns a harsh climate into a navigable calendar. Glaciers can create natural dams that redirect rivers into new paths. An advancing glacier can block a valley like a slow-moving wall. Water backs up behind it, forming lakes that may last for centuries or only for seasons. Either way, the river is forced to negotiate. It might spill over a low saddle into a neighboring basin. It might carve a new outlet along the ice margin. It might seep beneath the ice and emerge somewhere unexpected. These detours can permanently reroute drainage, even after the glacier disappears, because once a new channel is cut, water often keeps taking the easiest path. This is one way ice can redraw watersheds. A stream that once flowed to one ocean can be pushed into a completely different network. Those changes also influence erosion and sediment delivery, which can build new floodplains downstream. The glacier is gone, yet the river's new route remains, like a long-lasting decision made under pressure. It is geography altered by blockage, then locked in by momentum. Isostatic rebound still lifts parts of Scandinavia and Canada today. After an ice sheet melts, the land beneath it begins to rise, and in some regions the rise is still measurable in human time. Coastlines can slowly change, with new land emerging from the sea and old harbors becoming shallower. Raised beaches can appear like stair steps, marking former sea levels when the land was lower. This rebound happens because the mantle beneath the crust flows slowly, and it takes a long time to relax after being pressed down by ice. The effect is not uniform. Different areas rise at different rates, and that can tilt entire regions. Lakes can shift their outlets, and rivers can alter their gradients. It is a reminder that Earth is not rigid. It responds like a very slow spring. People often think the Ice Age ended and moved on. In these rebounding lands, the planet is still finishing the motion, still easing upward after a weight that vanished thousands of years ago. Earthquakes can be influenced by changing ice loads and rebound. When ice sheets grow, they add weight, and when they melt, that weight is removed. Both changes can alter stress in the crust. As the land rebounds upward, faults can be nudged closer to slipping, especially in regions already primed by tectonic forces. This does not mean ice causes all earthquakes, and it does not turn the past into a simple trigger story. It means the crust responds to loading and unloading, and that response can affect when a fault releases energy. In some places, evidence suggests bursts of seismic activity after deglaciation, when rebound was rapid and stresses were shifting. There can also be secondary effects like landslides on steep slopes destabilized by changing ground conditions. The eerie thought is that melting ice does not only change coastlines and rivers, it can also change how the ground breaks, adding another layer to the Ice Age's long aftermath. Cold oceans absorbed more carbon dioxide, altering the global carbon cycle. Cold water can hold more dissolved gas than warm water, and during glacial times the oceans were generally colder. That meant the sea could take up more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which helped lower atmospheric levels. Ocean circulation and biology also play roles, because carbon can be stored in deep waters and carried away from the surface for long periods. This creates a planet-sized exchange system, with the ocean acting as both sponge and conveyor. The result is that the Ice Age climate was shaped not only by ice and sunlight, but also by the chemistry of seawater and the movement of currents. When the oceans later warmed, their capacity changed, and carbon could shift back toward the air. This is one reason the carbon cycle feels like a living thing. It breathes between ocean and atmosphere, influenced by temperature, currents, and time. The Ice Age was partly a story of where carbon chose to reside. Ice Age winds helped fertilize oceans with iron-rich dust. Wind can carry more than grit. It can carry nutrients. During colder periods, drier landscapes and stronger winds lofted dust high into the air, and some of that dust settled onto the ocean surface. Iron is one of the key ingredients in that dust, and in many parts of the ocean, iron is scarce. When iron arrives, it can act like a spark from microscopic algae, allowing plankton to grow more vigorously. More plankton can mean more food for larger organisms, and it can also influence how much carbon the ocean pulls from the atmosphere, because plankton use carbon dioxide as they grow. This makes dust feel surprisingly important. A gust over a barren plain can eventually affect life far out at sea. It is a chain that links land to ocean, wind to biology, and climate to chemistry. In the Ice Age, the atmosphere was not only colder, it was more active as a delivery system, moving minerals across the planet. More ocean nutrients can boost plankton, changing food webs and carbon storage. When nutrients rise in the sunlit surface ocean, microscopic plankton can multiply fast, turning clear water into a living bloom. That bloom feeds almost everything else, because plankton sit near the base of many marine food webs. Small zooplankton eat them. Fish eat the zooplankton. Seabirds and seals follow the fish. In Ice Age conditions, changes in winds, dust delivery, and ocean mixing could shift where nutrients were available, which meant the richest waters could move from one region to another. There is also a planet-scale consequence. Plankton use carbon dioxide as they grow, and when some of that organic matter sinks into deeper water, carbon can be stored away from the atmosphere for a long time. So a change that begins with tiny drifting cells can ripple outward into ecosystems and climate. The ocean can feel endless, yet its chemistry can be nudged by surprisingly small ingredients. The Ice Age reshaped coastlines, creating many modern estuaries and bays. As sea levels rose after the Great Melt, the ocean flooded river valleys and low plains, and the shoreline became more complex. A straight coast could become a lacework of inlets. A river mouth could widen into a sheltered bay. These drowned valleys often formed estuaries, places where fresh river water meets salt water and creates a rich mixing zone. Nutrients gather there, sediments settle, and life can become dense and varied. Estuaries are nurseries for many fish and shellfish, and they are also natural filters that trap pollution and calm storm surges. Human history followed these changes. Sheltered bays make good harbors, and estuaries can support long-term food gathering. Many famous coastal cities grew around these newly formed shapes, built on geography that did not exist when sea level was lower. When you look at a calm bay today, you are often looking at an ancient valley that the ocean claimed, then turned into a cradle for life and trade. Coral reefs had to migrate as sea levels rose and fell. Corals need light, so they cannot simply stay put when sea level changes. During lower sea levels, many reefs were left too shallow or even exposed, which could kill them. During rising seas, reefs faced the opposite challenge. They had to grow upward fast enough to stay in the sunlit zone, or they would drown in deeper water. This creates a dramatic idea. A reef can behave like a living construction project, racing the waterline. Over time, reefs can also shift laterally, with new growth forming along new shorelines as coastlines move. Old reef structures can be left stranded as limestone terraces, while newer reefs build on their edges. Ice Age sea level swings were large enough to force repeated adjustments, and that reshaped tropical coastlines in ways we still see. A reef is not just scenery. It is an organism community that builds geology, and it has had to chase the surface of the sea through deep time. Mountain glaciers expanded and retreated like slow breathing over centuries. Even far from the great continental ice sheets, mountains carried their own cold rhythms. In cooler periods, snow lines lowered, valleys filled with ice, and glaciers lengthened like pale tongues reaching downhill. In warmer periods, they pulled back, leaving fresh rock and piles of debris where ice had been. This back and forth can happen many times, and each pulse leaves clues. A ridge of stones can mark a former ice front. A freshly scoured basin can hold a new lake. A polished rock face can show how high the ice once pressed. What makes it feel like breathing is the tempo. The changes are too slow for a single day, yet fast enough to leave multiple generations living with different mountain shapes and water supplies. Mountain glaciers also act like reservoirs. They store winter snow and release meltwater later, smoothing the seasons. Their advance and retreat is not only a response to climate. It becomes part of how a region lives. Some tropical mountains still hold glaciers as living Ice Age remnants. It can feel almost impossible to imagine ice near the equator, yet altitude can create cold even in the tropics. On very high peaks, thin air and low temperatures allow glaciers to survive, perched like small white crowns. These glaciers are especially striking because they sit above forests and grasslands that look nothing like an Ice Age scene. They are also sensitive because small temperature shifts and changes in cloud cover can strongly affect them. Their ice can preserve clues about past rainfall patterns and atmospheric circulation in regions where other climate records are rare. For people living nearby, these glaciers can have cultural meaning, and they can influence water supplies during dry seasons. Seeing a tropical glacier is like seeing a page that was never fully turned, a remnant of colder conditions still hanging on where the air is cold enough to protect it. They remind us that the Ice Age is not only a story of the far north, it is a story written in elevation too. Glacial meltwater feeds major rivers, supporting huge populations today. In many mountain regions, glaciers act as delayed release tanks. Snow and ice store water during cold months, then melt gradually, feeding streams when rainfall is low. That steady contribution can keep rivers flowing through late summer, which matters for drinking water, irrigation, and hydropower. In places like the Himalaya, the Andes, and parts of the Alps, this meltwater supports downstream communities that may be far from the ice itself. It also shapes river timing. Meltwater often peaks during warm days, creating daily pulses that ripple downstream. Over longer periods, glaciers can buffer drought years, though that buffer changes as glaciers shrink. The connection to the Ice Age is direct. Many modern glaciers are remnants of broader glacial conditions, and their meltwater links ancient cold to modern life. A city faucet can be connected through rivers and reservoirs to ice that formed from snowfalls long ago. It is one of the most practical legacies of glaciation, flowing quietly through economies and meals every day. Ancient pollen in lake sediments reveals vanished Ice Age plant communities. At the bottom of a quiet lake, mud settles year after year, and it can trap tiny grains of pollen like glitter in glue. Because different plants produce distinct pollen shapes, scientists can identify what grew nearby in different eras by sampling sediment layers. This creates a time travel map of vegetation. You can see forests arrive, spread, and retreat. You can see grasslands expand when conditions become drier or colder. You can even spot signs of sudden change when pollen types shift quickly from one layer to the next. These records are powerful because plants respond directly to temperature and moisture. A lake can become a local climate diary, written in microscopic grains that survive long after leaves and trunks have vanished. The story is often surprising. Regions that are forested today may have been open steppe. Places that are now farmland may have once supported cold-tolerant shrubs. Sediment cores turn invisible pollen into a visible timeline, and they help us understand how landscapes transformed during and after glacial times. Packrat middens preserve Ice Age seeds and leaves in dry caves. Packrats are small animals with a big habit. They collect bits of plants, twigs, seeds, and other materials, then build them into nests that can harden into dense piles. In arid caves and rock shelters, these piles can last for tens of thousands of years because packrat urine crystallizes and cements the material together. The result is a natural archive that preserves plant fragments with astonishing detail, sometimes down to identifiable species. That means you can learn what grew nearby during Ice Age conditions, even in places where lakes were rare and pollen records are limited. Middens can show how desert plants shifted with changing climate. and how mountain vegetation zones moved up and down with temperature. They can also capture moments of ecological transition when one community gives way to another. It is a humble source of evidence built by rodents, yet it can outlast many human structures. A pile of old nest material becomes a key to vanished ecosystems, stored in the stillness of stone. Ancient DNA from permafrost can identify species without full fossils. Sometimes a landscape holds no dramatic bones, yet the ground still remembers who lived there. In frozen soils, tiny fragments of DNA can persist, shed from skin cells, hair, waste, and decaying plants. By extracting and sequencing that genetic material, researchers can detect species even when no recognizable fossils are present. This can reveal surprising communities, including plants, insects, and large animals that left only faint traces. It can also help track when species arrived or disappeared in a region, which is useful for understanding how ecosystems responded to climate swings. The method is careful work. Samples must be protected from contamination, and the DNA fragments are often short and damaged. Still, the payoff is extraordinary. The soil becomes a witness, and it can speak in genetic letters. This approach adds a new layer to Ice Age research, because it can fill gaps where bones are rare and pollen is incomplete. It is like finding a roll call hidden inside the ground itself. Frozen soils can preserve mammoths with hair, skin, and stomach contents. Permafrost can act like a deep freezer, and in rare cases it preserves whole animals with an intimacy that feels almost unreal. Some mammoth remains include thick hair, leathery skin, and even the contents of the digestive tract, which can contain grasses, herbs, and bits of twigs from the animal's final meals. That kind of preservation turns a fossil into a snapshot. It can reveal what the animal ate, what season it died in, and sometimes what parasites or injuries it carried. It also helps scientists study anatomy that bones alone cannot show, like the structure of soft tissues and the makeup of fur. These finds are precious, and they also raise hard questions about how quickly thawing ground might expose and damage them. For listeners, the wonder is immediate. You are not just imagining a mammoth. You are meeting it through preserved details that bridge deep time, down to the last mouthful it chewed. Some preserved mammoths still contain grasses from their last meal. In rare cases, a mammoth is not just bones. It is a moment held still. When a body freezes quickly and stays frozen, parts of the digestive system can remain, and the contents can include chewed grasses, sedges, and other tundra plants. That gives researchers something almost unheard of in deep time. It offers direct evidence of diet without guessing from teeth alone. It can also hint at season, because certain plants are available or nutritious at specific times of year. Sometimes the plant fragments are so well preserved that they can be identified in detail, and they can be compared with pollen and plant records from the same region. That comparison helps rebuild the local landscape, not as a general habitat, but as a menu a single animal actually ate. It is intimate science. A final mouthful becomes data, and it turns a prehistoric giant into an individual with a last ordinary meal. Ice Age oceans were colder, and sea ice reached farther south. During colder phases, the oceans did not only chill, they changed their boundaries. Sea ice expanded, and in some regions it pushed into waters that are usually open today. That expansion matters because sea ice is not just frozen surface. It is a moving lid that affects storms, waves, and the exchange of heat between ocean and air. It can also change marine life. The underside of sea ice can host algae that feed small animals, which then support larger food chains. Meanwhile, open water areas near the ice edge can become busy feeding zones as currents concentrate nutrients and organisms. For people living on coasts, broader sea ice could alter travel and hunting, opening ice routes in some seasons while blocking boats and shoreline access in others. The image of an ice age coastline is not only snow on land. It is a farther reach of ice across the sea, reshaping weather and life along the margins. Changes in sea ice can amplify cooling by reflecting more sunlight. Sea ice is bright, and brightness is power in the climate system. When a surface reflects sunlight, less energy is absorbed, and the region tends to stay cooler. If cooling allows sea ice to spread, the surface becomes even brighter, and that can encourage further cooling. This feedback can help explain why polar regions can shift strongly once conditions tip. The reverse can happen too. When sea ice shrinks, darker ocean water is exposed, and dark water absorbs more sunlight, which can promote additional warming. What makes this fascinating is the speed of response compared with the slow march of ice sheets. Sea ice can expand or retreat over seasons, and that means it can act like a fast amplifier on top of slower climate changes. It is also a reminder that Earth is not controlled by one knob. It is a set of linked responses where a change in surface color can influence temperature, winds, and the next year's ice. Glaciers can calve icebergs that drift, melt, and freshen seas. Where a glacier meets the ocean, the boundary can crack and break in spectacular ways. Great slabs of ice can detach and slide into the sea, becoming icebergs that carry fresh water far from their birthplace. As they drift, they melt, and that meltwater changes local seawater density. Density matters because it helps control mixing, and mixing helps control how heat and nutrients move. In some cases, a trail of meltwater can influence where plankton thrive, which then affects fish and the animals that follow fish. Icebergs also carry sediment picked up on land and frozen into the ice, which can be released as the iceberg decays. That makes each iceberg a traveling package of fresh water and minerals. The most striking part is the scale. A calving event can sound like thunder and send waves across a fjord, yet its longer story continues quietly as the iceberg drifts, melts, and leaves a chemical footprint in the sea. Iceberg rafted stones on the seafloor reveal past ice extent. In the deep ocean, far from any shore, you can find stones that do not belong there. They are too large to have drifted down like dust, and currents cannot easily carry them that far. One explanation is elegant. Icebergs can trap rocks in their base, then carry those rocks out to sea. When the iceberg melts, the stones drop and settle into the mud. Over time, layers of seafloor sediment collect, and scattered stones appear like punctuation marks. By drilling cores from the seafloor and dating layers, scientists can track when and where iceberg rafting was common. That helps reconstruct how far ice reached, how active calving was, and how ocean conditions supported iceberg travel. Each dropped stone is a message from a vanished shoreline, delivered by floating ice. It is detective work on the planetary floor, where a single pebble can point to a time when icebergs filled routes that are now open water. The Ice Age left thousands of kettle ponds across northern landscapes. If you travel through many northern regions, you can see ponds scattered like spilled coins, often round or oval and sometimes clustered tightly together. Many of these began when chunks of glacier ice were left behind, buried in sediment, then melted later and collapsed the ground. The result was a hollow that filled with water and became a small pond. Over time, kettle ponds can develop their own personalities. Some stay open and clear. Some slowly fill with plants and organic matter, turning into marsh, then into meadow. Others connect through seasonal overflow and become part of a wider wetland mosaic. They also influence local wildlife, providing breeding places for amphibians and insects, and resting spots for birds. These ponds, are not random. They are the aftermath of retreat, a signature of broken ice left to melt on its own schedule. A quiet pond in the woods can be a delayed echo of a glacier that vanished long ago. Many modern wetlands began as glacial leftovers, rich with trapped water. Wetlands often appear in the low, flat places that glaciers loved to shape. When ice retreats, it can leave uneven ground, compacted sediments, and shallow basins that hold water. In those basins, slow-moving water allows organic material to build up, and peat can form over centuries like a dark sponge. Wetlands then become powerful parts of the landscape. They store floodwater during heavy rains, release water slowly during dry stretches, and create habitats where diversity can be intense. They also preserve history. Layers of peat and mud can hold pollen, charcoal from ancient fires, and traces of changing vegetation. That makes a wetland both living system and archive. The richness is not only biological, it is chemical and hydrological too, with waterlogged soils that behave differently from dry ground. In a sense, wetlands are glacial memory made useful. A basin left behind by ice becomes a place that feeds birds, filters water, and steadies the land's rhythm. The end of the Ice Age set the stage for farming and cities. As the climate warmed and became more stable in many regions, seasons grew more predictable, and plants that people relied on could be tended and harvested more reliably. Warmer conditions also allowed forests and grasslands to expand into places that had been too cold or too dry, and that created new opportunities for both wild foods and early cultivation. Rivers fed by snow and meltwater carved floodplains that could be fertile, and coastal areas formed new estuaries and bays that supported dense resources. None of this guarantees farming, yet it creates the kind of environmental backdrop where experimentation can pay off. People could return to the same places more often, store food more securely, and invest effort in landscapes they expected to remain productive. Over time, this stability supported larger populations and more permanent settlements, and those settlements could grow into towns and cities. The transition was not a single invention. It was a long shift in how humans related to land, seasons, and risk, enabled by a world that had stopped swinging so violently between extremes. Even today, we live in an ice age, just in a warm interval. It sounds like a contradiction until you look at the big picture. An ice age is defined by the presence of large ice sheets on land, and Earth still has them, especially in Antarctica and Greenland. That means we are in an ice age right now, but we are living in an interglacial, a warmer phase between colder peaks. This perspective stretches your sense of time. It suggests that glaciers, sea level, and climate have long rhythms, and our current warmth is one chapter inside a longer cycle. You can also see traces of the colder world all around, from glacial landforms to lingering permafrost in high latitudes. Thinking this way changes the story from past versus present to continuity. The Ice Age did not end like a movie credits scene. Its structures remain, its ice still exists, and its cycles still shape the baseline of Earth's climate system. We are living inside an ongoing era, and our actions are now becoming part of how that era unfolds. Future ice ages are possible, but greenhouse gases can delay them. Over very long spans, the slow pacing of Earth's orbit and tilt can favor the growth of ice sheets again. Those cycles are still operating, and they suggest that another major glaciation could happen in the far future under natural conditions. Yet greenhouse gases change the energy balance of the planet. Higher levels of carbon dioxide and methane trap more heat, which can make it harder for summer snow to persist in the places where ice sheets usually begin. That means the timing of the next major glacial expansion is not only a matter of celestial geometry, it is also influenced by what is in the atmosphere. This is a startling thought. Human activity operates on decades and centuries, yet it can interact with natural cycles that unfold across tens of thousands of years. It reframes our role. We are not just passengers watching ancient rhythms. We are now part of the machinery that decides how cold can return and when. We have wandered across a world of ice and wind, of towering glaciers and restless seas. We have stood beneath walls of frozen white that pressed continents downward. We have watched oceans retreat and return, turning plains into seafloor and valleys into bays. We have followed mammoths across open steppe, listened for the crack of calving icebergs, and traced the faint scratches that glaciers left on stone. We have peered into bubbles of ancient air, into pollen buried in lake mud, into DNA hidden in frozen ground. We have seen how dust in the wind could nourish distant oceans, how sea ice could brighten the planet, and how shifting climates guided animals and humans into new lands. And through it all, we have noticed something steady beneath the drama. The earth responds. It bends, it breathes, it remembers. Now, let that vast story begin to settle. Imagine the slow retreat of a glacier, not as an ending, but as a soft exhale. Picture meltwater smoothing into a calm lake. Feel the scale of deep time stretching out behind you, wide and unhurried. The world has changed before, in rhythms longer than any single lifetime. You are allowed to rest inside that perspective. If you enjoyed this journey through the Ice Age, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or sharing it with someone who might appreciate a quiet voyage through science. And if you happen to still be awake, there is another gentle exploration waiting for you on the screen. For now, let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts drift like snow settling on still ground. The ice has receded. The night is calm. Sleep well, and good night.